We are now streaming 1 minute till broadcast.
Good afternoon. Happy Thursday here in City Hall chambers on the first floor of our City Hall here in Durham, North Carolina. I'd now like to call our City Council work session to order on this Thursday, March 23rd, 2023 at 1 p.m. This is our second meeting for today. We've had a full day of the people's business, and we will now start part two, and I'll turn to our clerk and ask her if she will call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mayor O'Neill.
I am present.
Mayor Pro Tem Middleton.
I'm here.
Councilmember Caballero.
Here.
Councilmember Freeman.
Present.
Councilmember Holsey-Hyman.
Present.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
All right, thank you. I believe Councilman Williams will be here. He was here this morning, so I think you will have a full 7 in just a moment. We took a break for lunch. With that being said, I'll now turn to any announcements by council. I'm looking to my right first. Mayor Pro Tem, we'll just go down the road.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good afternoon, ma'am, and to my honorable colleagues all in the chamber and those watching wherever you may be on our virtual platform. Very quickly, colleagues, I wanted to keep fidelity with our process in terms of bringing folk or things before our work session. Our sports commission has been doing a bunch of work of late, and it's been a minute since we've heard from them. And I know all of us are in agreement that sports and our parks and recs, what our parks and recs do, are important parts of our strategy in keeping our young people in particular safe through constructive and character building initiatives, and certainly sports provides us with one of those things. So I'm asking for permission for the Sports Commission to come before us and present with some specific ask on our next work session, which I believe would be March 6th, if I'm correct, Madam Clerk. April? Oh, I mean April, my bad. April 6th, yeah, I'm going. So with that, colleagues, that's my only announcement, is asking for the youth commission, the sports commission to have birth before us.
Thank you, Councilwoman Caballero, and followed by Councilwoman Freeman. And I won't interrupt again.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to talk about yesterday's horrific shootings. I know it was an extremely tragic day for our city, and I know many of us are grieving, and many of our families are grieving. The victims were all children, and while the suspect was legally an adult, he was also a young person. And this violence has rocked our community, but in particular is being felt within our Latino community. And because of where the shootings occurred and where these young people went to school, is also really impacted our DPS community, our Durham Public Schools community. All 4 of these lives, the victims and the suspect and their families' lives, are irrevocably damaged, and I want to lift them up. The families of these boys, and I also want to lift up all of our students, teachers, counselors, central office staff, school board members, especially at Brogden, Riverside, and Lakeview. I know that I have 2 children at Riverside and 1 at Brogden, and I know for those communities it was an extremely hard, challenging day to get through. I know I cried when each one of my kids made it through the door, knowing that That doesn't always happen in the city for lots of different reasons, and it is a parent's worst nightmare. And so just thinking about our community today, I also want to share that El Futuro does have walk-in mental counseling hours every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. They start at 9 a.m. So for those in our community, El Futuro offers bicultural mental health services in Spanish and English. So anyone in our community who's struggling, I encourage you to reach out to them for support. Just know that we are thinking about you. A las familias de las víctimas de ayer, estás en nuestros pensamientos, estamos rezando para ustedes. Yo sé que esto es un tiempo muy difícil para ustedes y ojalá que saben que ustedes tienen nuestro apoyo y nuestro amor y cariño. Gracias.
Thank you, Councilmember Caballero. Just in the same vein, I wanted to just take a moment and just uplift all of the families that experience gun violence and just acknowledge that when children come in contact with this type of violence, their traumas come across very differently. And so just reminding adults around children that they say things like, my head hurts, my stomach hurts, and it's really anxiety and not having words to put to what exactly they're feeling. And so just really taking a pause with the children that you're around. My training with Durham Children's Initiative, after each of these situations would occur, would be to make sure that parents understood exactly just that. And so I just wanted to share that. And then also, I was in the process of supporting the mayor's initiative around this hackathon around gun violence, and in conversations with Durham Committee on the Affairs of Black People, and trying to make sure that Dr. Karen Haldeman had as many resources as possible around this conversation. I wanted to share publicly that we were in those conversations in the preliminary stages of trying to figure out who those folks would be, and I felt like this would be a good time to say more broadly that we need more folks involved in this, not less. And I just want to say, my heart breaks each and every time that a child or a person, I mean, it's always someone's child, is involved in gun violence. And that's on both sides, whether it's the shooter or the person who is the victim in the shooting. And I want to extend my sincere thanks and regards for folks at Hillside as well as Lakewood, Lakeview, Brogdon, and Riverside, because they've all been experiencing this increase of violence at their doors, essentially, and just knowing that the staff has been phenomenal and just addressing it in a way that I don't know that many cities even know how to address. I mean, I think the lockdown, the way they got the kids out the car, the way they're, making sure that people are safe, and in that moment is not, it doesn't fall on me that it's not, a system that's in place. So I want to thank DPS and the staff as well. And I just want to invite as many folks into the conversation, just knowing that this emotional and physical trauma is going to continue to have its roots in our community, and we've got to root it out. And so I will be sharing that information more broadly, making sure that there are contacts for Dr. Haldeman and the team that's working around trying to get this hackathon moving. And so I just wanted to just identify that, this conversation is happening and these shootings keep occurring, and we're very mindful of it, and we do need to address it. We are working to address it. Thank you. That's all. Thank you. I'll turn now to my left to see if there are any announcements on this end. Councilman Johnson, Councilman Jose Hyman. We'll let you all go first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to echo my colleagues in expressing our grief over the recent shootings that affected several young children in the community. Yeah, it's always very hard for us, and we are, our hearts are with all the folks that are affected. It's especially, tragic when you're dealing with children. And yeah, we are living through some difficult time. Our community is having a difficult time right now. I didn't want to not acknowledge that. Yeah, I think I'll stop there. Thank you.
I want to just also echo, first of all, good afternoon to my colleagues. I just want to also echo everything that my colleagues said. I think that's why, since I have been appointed in May, that I have been really championing this mentorship, gun violence in the community, safer communities. It all ties together. I'm also going to call to action some of my licensed clinical social workers who are out there in Durham to wrap services around these schools. Sometimes the schools don't have a lot of services around social work. They do have them. Sometimes social workers are being shared by 3 and 4 schools. So I'm asking to call to action some of my licensed clinical social workers, some of the outpatient non-for-profits that do mental health, to really wrap your arms around these schools, around the community, because it's affecting everyone. It's not just stopping with one economic base, one diverse base. It's now affecting everybody. And so I think I'm kind of sick and tired of the conversation. I want us to move to solution-focused ideas or just concepts of how we can get this going. Every youth that is born is also, should be guaranteed a full life, and that's not happening. And so again, I just want to echo what my colleagues say, but again, that is why I'm championing and have been a champion for mentorship around safer communities that relate to gun violence. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, colleagues. Not a morning we want to wake up to. I'll just be really quick and say that, we all recognize the problem here. I don't think that there could be enough ideas. We need to keep generating those ideas on what can be done. I think as a city, we, usually our budget shows our priorities. And I appreciate the budget team for the work you're doing, and I appreciate my colleagues for supporting a task force that specifically focuses on why this is happening. The task force was mainly focused on Black men and boys because overwhelmingly that's the data point. But I would be quite amenable to that being expanded to youth in our city when it comes to gun violence, and I just really hope that we can accept that, and I also hope that we can build community again. So knock on strangers' doors and let's get to know folks. Let's rebuild our community and stop living in isolation. Let's get back to the village raising our children. Thank you.
Yesterday was a really hard day for the city of Durham. It's always a really hard day for mothers and fathers and significant others who send their kids to school, and we feel the impact when some of them don't make it home. I don't have any words because it always takes me back to my days on the bench and when I lost 3 kids in 1 week, and I just sort of shut down. I was at home last night about 10 o'clock and my phone rang. It was Chair Howerton, and she said, "Elaine, I'm just sitting here looking at the wall. I don't know what to do." And for all they know her story, she lost 2 of her children to gun violence. And I've lost family members, and this just it shouldn't be. And we are doing our best to do what we can from this vantage points as city leaders, but it's not enough. And it's gonna take a whole lot more of us to do more things. But in that vein, I do want to mention 2 opportunities that I'll appeal to the public to try and help. There's a joint city, county, and public education committee. There's 2 from each of the boards along with staff. And so as we were contemplating what we were going to do, sort of in this vein, the 3 governments began to talk about how we could try to make sure that our young people in this city have a different summer opportunity. And the first thing that we decided to do was try to get a baseline of the need and what we offer as the government. So the Durham Public Schools have told us that they have approximately 18,000 young people between the ages of from middle school to high school. And that number is expanding when you think about the charter school and private school children that we have in that age. To that end, Durham Public Schools thinks that they can probably touch about 5,000 of those young people through some interaction with Durham Public Schools. The city of Durham, you know, we offer a youth works program. We hired almost 500 young people last year, and the county, as you're well aware, don't have quite the resources that we have in terms of place and time to give direct services, but they have some opportunities at their libraries. But even at all that, you can see the deficit in the numbers. One of the things that I am asking to try to steer is to find out what people are doing in their neighborhoods. What are the nonprofits going to do this summer in terms of offering opportunities for young people so that we can tie all this together and parents can have a fuller picture of what's being offered out there in the summertime, and also so that we can get some baseline data as to what we think we will need. So we are contemplating trying to have a roll call of nonprofit organizations to see what's going to happen so that we can try to make sure that when summer comes around this time, that we have reacted in a way that is noticeable and can be felt by families in the community seeking to find an option for their kids this summer. The second one will be what Councilwoman Freeman offered as well. We are trying to, with the help of Duke University, I believe, and Dr. Karen Haldeman, who you probably know that name. She was the co-chair of the Racial Equity Task Force, but she is a activist in this area. We're trying to pull together all of the voices that speak in gun violence prevention and try to figure out, once again, who's doing what where. It is important that we are all knowledgeable about what others are doing and begin to try to figure out where we can fill in the gaps and what it is that we actually need to move the needle in these two areas. So I just offer right now that we have a moment of silence to kind of think about where you fit in this arena, and also that we think about those families who lost children not only yesterday, but continue to lose children in our community. Thank you all for that. I do want to spend a couple of seconds also talking about our SCAD, or what does it stand for again? SCAD, the development. Say it again, Leo. Y'all know I'm not good with acronyms. I mean, remember what they stand for.
I think it's simplifying code for affordable development. Is that right?
I do have, I was talking with one of the persons who had signed up to speak with us on Monday yesterday at the Durham Chamber event. And he asked me, well, what is it that you want, posed the question to me, what is it, Mayor, that you want to see happen in this space in terms of your understanding of these text amendments? And I told him, one of the things that I think that this provides Durham a unique opportunity to sort of move forward in the innovation space, and it doesn't have to be done in a matter of us against them. He was a proponent in one of our development community, and I told him that the cards that I saw the other night were split pretty much about evenly, about 20 some odd people on both sides. And it will be helpful while we are going to get information from our city staff. It will be helpful if those two sides could get together and figure out where they have points of disagreement to in the interim. And he went on to suggest that, well, you know, there are people that think that all developers are really bad people and on and on. And I'm sure they're kind of bad actors in any arena. But I do think that in this particular circumstance, we have an opportunity to kind of lead the way on how you can have a civil discourse about a matter that's going to probably last generations. So I plan to try to get those cards and make contact by letter with those folks who are scheduled to, who had signed up to speak, to ask if you all would consider talking to the other side with the hopes of coming back in May with a place where we can dig down. I think Councilman Williams said it the other night, you know, you shouldn't throw out the bathwater with the baby or the baby with the bathwater, whatever that saying is. But there are parts that are, some people are gonna think are good, some people are gonna think are bad. But it will be real helpful if that does not have to have acrimony in it, that we have a civil discourse and we figure out where we have agreement and where we have disagreement, and we are able to present that in a manner to us that helps the process move along. So that would be my request to that answers. I will reach out, hopefully by letter, to ask you all to meet together in an effort to figure out where we have areas of disagreement or agreement, and then we come back together in May to have a civil and educational opportunity for us to hear from one another. To that end, I also have a little bit of good news before one last announcement, and I have received a letter from our governor, Roy Cooper, and he says, "Dear Mayor O'Neill, thank you for your efforts to make Durham as well as North Carolina a better place to live. Parks and recreation provide many benefits for our people, including better health, cleaner air and water, and more opportunities for families and communities to spend time together. I am pleased to announce that the North Carolina Parks and Recreation Authority has approved a matching grant in the amount of $500,000 from the Accessibility for Parks program for the C.R. Wood Park project. Ms. Mavis Gregg, chairperson of the Parks and Recreation Authority, will contact you with her congratulations as well as information about how to begin the project. Congratulations, Durham, another $500,000. All right. I am now going to read a statement that has been prepared by our city attorney, Kim Rayburg, who's seated to my left. On Monday, March 13, 2023, the Durham City Council was informed by City Attorney Kim Rayburg that a property developer had reported to a city staff that a sitting city council member had suggested to the developer that support will be given for the developer's project in exchange for a donation to the council member's election campaign. I promptly reached out to the UNC School of Government for guidance on how the City Council as a body could and or should respond to these allegations. At my request, City Attorney Rayburg also met with several members of the UNC School of Government faculty, as well as an attorney in private practice with experience in such allegations, to compile a list of options that the City Council could work from in determining how to respond to such allegations. On Monday, March 20th, 2023, the mayor and city attorney met with members of the council individually or in pairs in order to discuss the reported allegations. The consensus amongst a majority of city council members is that the allegations are incredibly disturbing, must be taken very seriously, and if true, may constitute criminal activity and could lead to criminal consequences. In light of that, the City Council has elected to refer, the majority of the City Council has elected to refer the matter to law enforcement. City Council staff is currently in the process of preparing a formal referral of the matter to state law enforcement. The Durham City Council remains steadfastly committed to maintaining honesty, integrity, and trustworthiness in all city business, transactions, activities, and policy making, And to that end, the City Council looks forward to a full investigation of the events in question and to taking the most appropriate action in response to the investigatory findings. Given that the matter is a pending criminal investigation, City Council members are at their discretion as elected officials, and this is my modification to the statement, to make any statements they deem appropriate or inappropriate at this time. They are individuals and they may do so. However, I do believe also with the city attorney that city staff are probably not in a position to provide additional comments about these matters beyond the foregoing statement. And with that, we will now turn to our priority items by the city manager.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and members of the Durham City Council. I do have one priority item for you for today's work session, and it is agenda item number 19, the American Rescue Plan Act ARPA project, Entrepreneur Accelerator plus Youth Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics STEM is a supplemental item that has been added. That is all I have for today's priority items, and thank you.
You have now heard the manager's priority items. May I entertain a motion for its approval?
So moved.
Been moved by Councilmember Williams, seconded by Councilmember Freeman, that we approve the manager's priority items. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed have the same right. Hearing none, the ayes have it, and the motion passes unanimously. I'll now recognize our city attorney for any priority items she may have.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor. The City Attorney's Office has no priority items.
Thank you, Attorney Rayburn. I'll now turn to our clerk to see if she has any priority items.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. In regard to item 14, Built to Last, the presentation will not be received today, and the video has been sent to council, and therefore no vote is required.
Thank you. All right, we will now turn to our second order of business, which is to read the entire agenda today. And here we go. And we have a fairly short agenda today, everybody. Item number 1 is the Durham City County Appearance Commission appointments. Item 2, February 2023 bid report. Item 3 is the Industrial Pretreatment Program Performance Audit, February 2023. Item 4, Fiscal Year 2023 to 2024 Budget Development Guidelines. Item 5 is the American Rescue Plan Act ARPA Project, Culture and Arts Invest to Restart. Item 6 is City of Durham and Keep Durham Beautiful, Inc., Cultural Roadmap Development Grant Budget Ordinance. Item 7.
Madam Mayor, I don't want to pull it, but I do have a very quick question on that, and this might be for the attorney. Very quickly, I'm serving as the honorary chair of the Cultural Roadmap, and I know when it came to matters like with DDI, I'm also on the board of directors of DDI. So, Madam Attorney, would I need to recuse myself on votes regarding, when this comes up, the budget ordinance for the Cultural Roadmap Development, given my role as honorary chair, or can I participate?
So we went through this during the last cycle as well. It's the contracts themselves that you have to recuse yourself from, not the overall budget ordinance. Is that what you're asking me?
It is.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Item number 8 is the Housing Appeals Board Annual Report for Fiscal Year 2022. Did I skip 7? I knew I was going to do something. Okay, item 7. Let's start back there. Human Relations Commission 2022 Annual Report. Item 8, Housing Appeals Board Annual Report for Fiscal Year 2022. Item 9, Resolution and Agreement for Donation of Surplus Personal Property to Built to Last Innovations Lab, Inc. Item 10 is 2023 National Police Athletic Leagues Monitoring Grant Project Ordinance. Item 11, Contract Amendment Number 1, ST-286, Petition Streets 2021. Item 12 is the interlocal agreement with Durham County Soil and Water Conservation District for water quality improvement measures. Item 13, the second amendment to contract with Powerhouse Recycling, Inc. for recycling services for electronic equipment. Item 14 has been pulled. Item 15 is the consolidated annexation 901 and 903 Sharon Road. Item 16, consolidated annexation 1300 on Oxford. Item 17, consolidated annexation 2142 East Gear. 18, zoning map change 2201 West Cornwallis. Item 19 is a supplemental item, American Rescue Plan Act ARPA project, Entrepreneurial Accelerator plus Youth Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics STEM. All right, and I have no pulled items. Okay.
Madam Mayor, there is a speaker in the virtual queue to item 1.
Item 1 is the Durham City County appointments appearance,
Yes, ma'am.
and that is Ms. Donna Stainback.
Yes.
All right, we will roll that right on into our citizens matter. So we'll hear from Ms. Stainback first. It has a number. Ms. Stainback? Ms. Donna Stainback?
Hello?
Yes, Ms. Stainback, are you speaking to item number 1, the Durham City County Appearance Commission appointment?
No, I was speaking to the open, where we normally have a little open discussion.
Okay. All right, so we are at Citizens Matters at this point, and you will have 3 minutes to speak, ma'am.
I won't take but a minute. I just was wanting to make sure people understood that when I presented things at the city council meeting, it is not because I'm against growth, and it's because I want to see good plans with good environmental metrics. And that's all I need to say, I think. So a lot of times with our 2 or 3 minutes that we get to speak, I don't get a chance to address that point. But I have said it before in the meetings, and that's very important for people to understand, for me. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stainback. Thank you. I will now turn to, we will still have one person on the line. So Miss Mary Molina. Ms. Molina, if you are present online, you will have 3 minutes to speak, ma'am. I think you may be muted, Ms. Molina. If you could unmute yourself. All right, I do know we have one other hand raised, and that will be Ms. Jackie Wagstaff. Ms. Wagstaff, are you available? And we'll come right back to Ms. Molina.
Looks like Ms. Molina's microphone.
I'm here now.
Okay, all right, Ms. Molina, you have 3 minutes, and then we'll go to Ms. Wagstaff.
Ms. Wagstaff, are you available? We'll go right back to Ms. Molina.
Can you hear me, Ms. Molina?
Ms. Molina, you have 3 minutes, and then we'll go to Ms. Wagstaff.
I apologize. I actually didn't realize I had signed up to speak, but as long as I do have 3 minutes, I wanted to convey my concern that citizens are being, that citizens are being targeted. It's been printed that a city council member is taking addresses of naysayers to the SCAD amendment. I think that is outrageous. And I have been called out by name in some of those threads that are on social media. This has to stop. If you want to talk about we and they on a SCAD amendment, please talk to the council about their behavior and their actions towards citizens who are speaking their mind. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Molina. We'll now turn to Ms. Wagstaff for any comments you may have. Ms. Wagstaff, you have 3 minutes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello? Okay. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, council members. Like Ms. Molina, I do have some concerns, but I was just going over your rules of decorum. And then the number one thing on this says all citizens may participate in public processes. It appears that that only applies when those citizens are in alliance with whatever the process is for the night that is agreeable to certain council members. I am very disturbed by recent comments that have been made by a council member about people that own homes and have roofs over their head, literally don't have a right to come to city council and speak on issues that they are passionate about. And it sends a bad message. And then if anybody knows what a veiled threat is, I'll give you the definition of it. It's not expressed directly or clearly because you do not want the meaning to be too obvious. I feel like a veiled threat was given when a council member made reference to they had addresses, they had information on people, where they live. I know for myself, when I don't agree with someone and that person comes to me and say, oh, I know where you live, I take that as a threat. And I believe that if you're gonna expect citizens to behave a certain way when they come, and I've yet to see anybody, even in their objection to SCAD or anything else, come down there to that city hall and stand at that podium and be disrespectful to the council. They speak their mind, they speak clearly, and they go back to their seat. But to have sitting council members disrespect citizens who are not elected and have not taken the oath to serve, the way I've seen some disrespect that has occurred by this council is appalling, and it has to be addressed. Now, you're addressing whatever you're saying about a council member involved in some illegal activity. If you want my opinion, there are several council members up there that may be involved in some unfamiliar activities that should not be happening when it comes to this development. So if we're gonna try to start pointing out one council over another, let's take a deep dive into all of these people on this board, on this council, that seem to have some behaviors that are unbecoming as it relates to your position as a public servant. And that's all I'm gonna say at this time.
Thank you. We now have 2 speakers here with us today. The first will be Mr. James Chavis. Mr. Chavis, you will have 3 minutes, and that will be followed by Pastor A.R. Wood Sr. We have 3 minutes as well.
Good afternoon to the mayor and all councilmen. As you all know, I sent you all an email asking for the planning department to come to our meeting on the 3rd Saturday in April. To what you have said about trying to get us together, that would be a good time also to get your planning department to come out there to us and explain us about this at our meeting. So I'm looking for you all to please help us get planning department to our meeting on the 3rd Saturday in April. With that said, I'm going for my true reason of coming out here. I went back also about Monday night, and I got direct quotes and said, I'm gonna call that person's name out. That's Councilman Williams. It was, to me, I can't say it to nobody else, it was very disrespectful for him to say certain people that comes up here and speak, they have roof over their heads, but he have hired 2 homeless people. But you then turn around and vote to give all those the right to have 80% or higher housing, so that we people that do have roof over our heads, we cannot continue to stay here in Durham because our taxes would go up. Not only that, it's disrespectful, William, that the city council passed affordable tax to help the low-income people to buy houses or get some aid in housing. But for you to say to us that it was disrespectful, to me, I don't know about nobody else, but you know what? Your day is coming, because you are one of those ones that I believe, I'm not speaking for nobody else, I'm speaking directly to you. You are one of the ones, because I saw you 3 times talking to the developers, but I didn't see you talking to any of the citizens that was opposed against you. So others may not say nothing, but I came here today to tell you that your day is coming, because how you disrespect us, we got a right to come up here and disrespect you as well. Thank you.
Mr. Wood, Pastor Wood, I'm sorry. Pastor Wood, you have 3 minutes, sir.
First, good morning, everyone. I want to say on yesterday as well, I was able to go to the scene of the 3 young men. And from building relationships with, I had a call from a parent, from a child that goes to Brogdon. And so I was able to be there, talk to the chaplains and some people in the community. During my interview, one of the things that I said then as well, as a community, as city council, pastors, churches, we need to come together to make things happen. And I'm very out for it about that. I've spoken to a lot of you as well. I saw Mr. Williams on the news this morning, and so I stand here in front of every one of you when you mentioned about having black men knock on the doors. So as I've seen over the past few months, I've seen women speak up. So I stand here today with you and with Pastor as well. If you want to go knock on some doors, you call me, and I'll go with you. I'm making it very, you got my number, you know me, and I would do that. So if you don't call me, that means the statement that you made, you're making out a false accusation. Because I'm in the neighborhood, I've seen the things, God has blessed us to have a van, and so I'm in one of the neighborhoods now taking children with me to church to give them a better way. I met with someone on yesterday that you're gonna be seeing me again on policies as well, that you'll be seeing me a lot more. So like I say, I'm willing to work with you. If you want to knock on some doors, I'll go. Because I'm in the neighborhoods and I'm doing that now with young people. And I saw the mentoring thing. The mentoring, yes, is very key. And that's why one of the young men and the people in that neighborhood on yesterday, I was able to talk with them. A lot of those children do need help. A lot of those children are suffering from the shooting. And so when the parent called me, that's why I went to the school. There is a program that's in some of these schools about men reading, asking for pastors and leaders as well to come out and read for the young people. So there's things in place. So it's, again, as Councilman said as well, it's time to stop talking. There's funding, I know that's there. We're building up downtown, but what about the people in the neighborhoods? What are we really doing for those in the neighborhoods to help them get those resources, to help them get the needs that they need, the counseling and everything they need? I have people in my church that are certified counselors in mental health as well. So I'm offering help to walk with you. I've talked with some of you before as well. God leads me to talk to some of you. Some person that you had me to call that person, hadn't called me back yet. And so it's one thing to do it, but that's how we build relationships. And so you got my number. Call me, and I'll knock on doors with you.
Thank you. Thank you all. I believe those are all the cards that I have and all the names I had from the internet, but just to make sure, I'm going to look at our clerk to make sure that we've completed the citizens' matters. All right, then our next order of business is to review all pulled items, and we have none. All right, so then we're on to our fourth order of business, which is our boards and commissions task force information, and that comes from our clerk.
Madam Mayor, if I might, I'm sorry. I know that the budget guidelines weren't pulled. Was that supposed to be a presentation, or was it just as it is, and if we don't see any need to pull it?
So the presentation of the budget guidelines that you actually have in your packet was what you saw at the end of the other retreat. But what we did do during the break is to make a minor modification to the guidelines related to the conversation we had this morning between 10 and 12. And we were anticipating replacing that budget guideline document with the slightly amended one. But Mr. Lohr is here in the chamber to actually show that language if you would like to see it, and it will be in your final budget package that you will be voting on in 11 days. So thank you, Madam Mayor, and Mr. Lohr is here.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council. John Lohr, Director of Budget Management Services. I'm going to stall here a little bit because my assistant walked out, but may be back. We have it ready to pull up on the screen, but I can't be in two places at once. But what it is first I'll tell you what it is, and then I can go and show you what it is. In the guidelines, which is a 3-page document, on the last page, the third from last bullet, prior to our meeting this morning, read, funding for city council budget requests will be considered. It was modified after the meeting to read, funding for city council budget requests advanced during the special budget work session on March 23rd, 2023 will be considered. And you will get that in an updated iLegislate package. We're just working, that is, if it's not already done, it is being done right now. Is that sufficient, or would you like me to pull it up?
No, absolutely. If it's okay with my colleagues, my thinking was that our prior meeting would indeed impact them, and if there was anything substantive to report out of that, even if it was just wordsmithing to us, I thought it was important at least to hear in this space before we adopted in a formal meeting. But that's sufficient for me, unless my colleagues have any other inquiries. But other than that, everything else is as was presented at the retreat, correct?
That is correct, and we did go over the guidelines during lunch just to make sure that we felt comfortable with them.
Cool. Thank you very much. That's sufficient for me. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll yield back.
All right, Clerk Chavis.
Good afternoon, everybody. There are 2 nominations for the Durham City County Appearance Commission. Those nominations are Dan Harrop and Michaela Jarvis, and that's the end of my report for today.
All right, thank you so much. I believe that we are now ready to settle our agenda.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have for your agenda items for consent would be items 1 through 13, and item 19, GBA public hearings, items 15 through 18.
Is there a motion to settle the agenda?
So move.
Second. Been moved by Councilman Williams, seconded by Councilwoman Freeman. All those in favor, would you sign by saying aye? Aye. All those opposed have the same right. Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Are there any other items to come before the council today? Any other matters? Councilman Williams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just wanted to say, as we all know, this work, it can get, we can get really passionate at it. We have a group that come in here, although there's some crossover to my previous statement on Monday. We have a group of folks that come in the name of Preserve Rural Durham. And I just want to highlight that their concerns on the environment out there are driving, as I've stated before, driving the standards that we are raising when it comes to our environmental matters in Southeast Durham. And I appreciate that. And I will continue to be impressed upon by their concerns. And as we are asking the General Assembly to actually allow us to legally invoke more standards. And there's a cost with that, and we're still going forward because it's a moral decision. However, to specify my statement from the other night, as some may deem it disrespectful. I stand by the sentiments of my comments regarding, us having to, have an open mind when it comes to trying to find solutions for housing people in this city. And I'm one of those elected officials where, the position that it appears that we're placed in sometimes, if you ignore people, is disrespectful. If you respond to people, it's disrespectful. If you, write down their addresses to see how the subject of a development is impacting the vicinity in which they live, it's a threat. There are going to be some uncomfortable relationships. And I respect the passion that everyone comes to that podium and state. But this city elected someone in me that will always engage, always respond, always protect the fidelity of the public domain and the public square. And I don't compromise on that. And that's not to be disrespectful. It is interesting that some of the most disrespectful people are telling me how disrespectful I am, but that's just not going to change. And I have a great deal of respect for folks speaking out. But I will respond, and I think there's a greater appreciation for it than not. But I just wanted to say that this isn't an attack. It's not a disrespect to anyone expressing their freedom of speech. But, I just welcome that dialogue and engagement. And if anyone is offended, maybe we can talk about it. All right. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, since we had a fairly short meeting, I felt like it would probably be a good time to bring forward a special request from the Carolina Pines Regional Council, formerly the Triangle J Council of Government, and just say, to kind of put a placeholder and say that it would be nice to get our organization, as I served as a liaison to it, in front of us to approve the charter amendment changes that'll need to come forward. And so I just want to put that out there for my colleagues that at a future work session, I'll be bringing that forward. Thank you. Councilwoman Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We do have one additional matter I wanted to bring up. We didn't really decide who was going to introduce this, so I will step up and do it. In our meetings earlier this week, another thing that we discussed was a resolution of censure of our fellow council member, Monique Hosley-Hyman, for behavior relating to engaging city staff on her in electoral or partisan work for her and for her reelection campaign. We've all received the resolution, and I was hoping that we could also discuss that this afternoon, and I know that Councilmember Hyman has expressed an interest in making a statement as well. So I'll stop there.
Yes, am I?
Yes. Councilwoman Hosley-Hyman.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. With a unanimous vote in May 2022, the Durham City Council appointed me to fill the at-large seat vacated by Charlie Reese based on my prior experience, my character, and being a servant leader in the Durham community for over 17 years. On the evening of March 22, 2023, at 10:30 p.m., the Durham City Council members received a resolution regarding me via email without consulting or discussing the concern with me. In reference to the first incident documented in the resolution from September of 2022, during this time, I was inquiring about information when trying to gather information about different PACs and resources to educate myself about organizations in Durham. I was informed that this request of a city staffer was considered campaign-related research. The incident, to my knowledge, was addressed with the staff member, her supervisor, and myself. Therefore, no further discussion. Thus calling into question the relevance of this incident 7 months later on March 22nd, 2023 at 10:30 p.m. In reference to the second incident documented in the resolution regarding January of 2023, a city staffer discussed their experience as a candidate and previously working on political campaigns with me. The city staffer offered to volunteer and assist me. I advised the city staffer to consult with Human Resources about helping with the campaign if I decided to run. The city staffer was granted permission by HR on January 13th, 2023 at 11:19 a.m. In March of 2023, the same city staffer sent an invitation to an event that I was having to another staff member via social media personal account during work hours. Through Human Resources, the city staffer signed a statement taking full responsibility for their actions on March 14th, 2023. In conclusion, over the past 10 months, I have been a servant leader. I have been a colleague to my staff, to my city council. I have actively listened and advocated and placed the residents of Durham at the forefront of all of my decisions. It is essential to remember the voice of all residents and communities in the city of Durham. I will continue to be a dedicated servant leader, to serve with transparency and integrity, and to speak for the Durham Durham residents. Thank you.
Any other? Yes.
Is there, so we all received the notification at the same time, and you're right, we haven't had a chance to talk about it. So I just want some clarification on what happened and what didn't. I don't know if we discussed that here, or what is your response to, is that your response to the resolution?
This is my response to the resolution.
Okay, can I get a copy of it? Can I read that? Because that was my first time hearing it.
Yes.
I do want to clarify that the resolution was not, was a majority vote. And I do want to say that on last night, I did receive a draft of a resolution from a council person that had my name down as the signer. From my understanding, a resolution had never been signed, and I asked that my name be removed from that resolution. I think that in order for the record to be correct, that it should show exactly who was for signing the resolution. Also have some signature lines for those who do not choose to sign or did not vote for the resolution, so that the record is clear. I would also admonish anyone who uses my signature in a manner that I do not give you permission for, to know that you do not have permission to do that, ever. Okay, so is there anything else?
No, I was just gonna say, I'm confused now because of the process that we participated in. Like, I don't know. I'm a little confused on the process now, because.
What part of the process are you confused on?
I'll yield to Mayor Pro Tem and gather my question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, colleagues. Firstly, this is a draft resolution that has not been acted upon yet. The recording of who votes for it and who doesn't vote for it is a matter of voting. That's a matter of our process. When it comes before the council, you can affirm it by voting yea or nay, and those votes will be public, and they will be available for public scrutiny. In my years on this council, I have never had to consider a resolution of censure for anyone. And we have had some knockdown, drag-out fights on this council. I was part of a council where it got very heated at times. At times I thought, sometimes we may have crossed the lines with some of our characterizations of each other. Sometimes I thought collegiality had suffered in some meetings, then it was recovered at subsequent meetings. So there is an ability to engage in debate and to engage in the work of the city without crossing certain lines, without calling into question certain standards, be they legal, be they ethical, be they just the norms of a body. So this is a really challenging and uncomfortable discussion for me, and I know for us as a council. Censure is about an act. It is not a statement about the sum total or character of the person. It is not a condemnation of the person's whole record or whole being. Censure is about an act. If one of us were to run a red light and we're stopped by the police department, that's under us in our org chart, and get a ticket written, a ticket is written or we're cited, and we may have done it. We may not have had our seatbelt on. We may have sped. And we deal with the consequences of that. It does not necessarily rise to the level of you can't be on the council anymore, you can't, serve the city anymore. It's about an act. And the question, I think, before the council is, did the acts that happened that are outlined in this resolution occur? And I want Councilmember Hyman, who was unanimously placed on this council, and all of us were elected. The rest of us were elected to the council by the people of the city with expectations and with standards in place. I mean, in one of the documents in the resolution, there's a conversation that's alluded to where I believe Councilmember Hyman talked to some of us. And I recognize some of the language in it because I believe I was a person who said, don't blur the line. To ask yourself, I always ask myself, is this campaign related? Is it government related? And if I have to hesitate even a bit, then I don't ask the staff to do it. I think, with respect, what we have here, one is a failure on the part of some of the people we listen to, quite honestly, and some of the people who we take counsel from, one. And the second failure, I think, is not to not to repeat the behavior once it's been identified as problematic. When I say who we listen to, Councilmember Hyman and I are both from a context, grew up in a place where, one of the watchwords was, watch how they move, watch how people move, watch the moves they make. And I'm always mindful of who I take my advice from, who I take counsel from, and how they manage not to get into the situation that you get into. How is it that the advice is relevant for them and they manage not to get into the same trouble? There's always that one person in the group who it always seems to fall on. But how do you manage not to succumb to that? Whether it's a controversial vote for an appointment and you're the only one last standing with your vote there, what happened to the people that were counseling you? Whether it's don't cross this line, but if there are others who said to you, it's okay to ask, again, I'm referring to the document that's in the resolution, then it's up to us to make a decision who we're going to listen to. Because if a voice said, don't do it, and one voice said, go ahead and do it, and who we choose to listen to and base our actions on have consequences. And of course, censure, once again, is about an action. It is not about the totality of the person. So I agree with you. The relevance of the first incident is only became relevant because of a second incident. That's what made it relevant, because one time it's one off. Another time it seems to suggest a pattern. If there are material or substantive things that are wrong, or you think misrepresentations, then by all means, you should say that, and you should bring that to the fore. But what has been put before us, and particularly what's troublesome to me, is that we're the most powerful people in this organization. Our staff, and we always have to maintain a line, a bright line, when it comes to involving staff in our political activities, our squabbles amongst each other. And we're counseled on that. When we get elected, the School of Government teaches us that. We take, an ethics course, particularly when it comes to campaigning. So the question, the answer to me about the relevance of the first issue is that it wasn't until the second issue came about. If people are disciplined at the staff level, and we as a council who basically are self-policing don't have anything happen to us at all, I think it could potentially send a chilling message to the people that work for us, the people that are on the org chart, other people. Censure really is a demonstration of just how powerful and influential we are. Because a slap on the hand for us, it doesn't affect your ability to vote, doesn't affect your access to your office, all of the rights and privileges we have to sit on this dais. But the weight oftentimes that's borne by those that are in the staff that work for the city, the impact is different for them than for us. So it's incumbent upon us who are self-policing, who have to kind of uphold the standard, because there's no line above us on the org chart, unless you go to the legislature or go to other outside entities. So censure, the joke about censure, to slap on the wrist for powerful people. But what it really is a way to say this act has to be addressed, but in addressing an act, it is not a summation of that person's entire being. It is not a summation of that person's entire record. It is not a summation or a characterization of that person's integrity. It's about, did you run this red light? Was your seatbelt on at the time you're supposed to have it on? Did you pay it by the late fee, the due date or not? And do you have to pay a late fee? And I think that's what this is about. And that's all I'll say on it at this time. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any other comments? Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you. I'm not sure, I couldn't follow any of what Mayor Pro Tem was saying in this, but I do want to say that it's troubling how this has come forward, and it's been troubling me as a matter of the way in which Councilmember Hyman has explained the misrepresentations that she did explain, and how it's dismissed in a very matter-of-fact way, is often dismissed whenever a woman is speaking at this dais. I am really just angry and disgusted with what has culminated over the last 2 weeks, and I'm still trying to unpack how it got balled up together and thrown at one council member, when I know for a fact that there have been many staff persons involved in different campaigns. And so I know that there's layers to this conversation, and I don't want to speak for someone, but the manner in which residents in this community have received some of our council colleagues is the same manner in which Councilmember Hosley Hyman has mentioned, and it's just unsettling that as a council of 5 women, that we would see fit to make sure that this type of behavior would be it's just reinforced in ways in which I'm just disgusted, and I can't. There's so much more going on behind the scenes, and there's so much more to who we are as people, and it's really just disappointing. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Councilman Williams.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean when you are saying women are being dismissed. And that's a conversation I welcome personally or publicly. I have no idea. For me, this isn't a gender thing. It's not a sexist thing. And the reason why I was saying I was confused, because when we were talking about this initially, it seemed matter of fact based on the notification that we received. This is nothing personal to Councilmember Hosley Hyman. I know I've been struggling with this a lot. So for me specifically, is what I was saying I was confused was, are we mitigating whether something happened or not, or are we actually going based on the information that's already been predetermined? So that is that's why I was a little confused. Are we, if the resolution reflects what has actually happened and has been proven, if staff has a report to say, look, this happened, and the resolution is based on that, and that's what we're voting on, then it is a matter of fact, and it's just a process. It's nothing personal. And so I was a little confused initially based on just the process of how we were handling this. It wasn't a character attack or anything. That's why I asked Councilmember Harmon, could I read read her response? And so we all received the same notification, and we all received an invite to have a small group meeting to determine this process. I'm not sure if you attended those, but my understanding was we were determining a response, or not a response, but a process. And so today, I wasn't sure we were voting on a resolution or we were actually submitting a resolution. But if it in fact happened, and this is me too, if something like this happens, and whether it was wittingly or unwittingly, if it happened, I would expect you all to do the same thing, because it's a matter of record. We don't want it to happen later on. I guess we're setting precedent here. So I would appreciate us keeping it objective to what's going on here, and not getting into the weeds of, people, your comments around women being dismissed, because I have the utmost respect for you and women on this council. And I don't know if you were talking to me directly or not, but that's just the nature and culture in which we're governing in.
Councilwoman Johnson, then Councilwoman Hosan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just make a few comments. I wrote this resolution based on the information that was provided to us via email concerning these incidents. The one thing in the resolution that contradicts what Councilmember Hyman said in her statement is that in January of 2023, Councilmember Hyman asked the city staff for work related to a political campaign. Councilmember Hyman is stating that the city staffer volunteered to do work on the campaign, and that she accepted that offer. I don't know if you still have to ask someone to do the actual work, even if they volunteer to do the work. There still has to be a request to actually do it if they are to be working on your campaign. But I can see how that would be misinterpreted as, I could see how that could be interpreted as a more proactive action on Councilmember Hyman's part than she is claiming in her statement. And so that is something that I think we could discuss changing if we want to accept that account. Also, I just want to say, none of us want to be here. Nobody wants to do this. I was up till 4 o'clock in the morning, literally panicking about this situation. No one wants this. We fight all the time. As Councilmember Middleton said, we constantly have disagreements. We make each other angry. We make members of the public angry. Members of the public make us angry. That's all part of the process. This feels to me far outside of that normal kind of political debate, even when it gets heated. This crosses the line for me into an actual ethical violation that is documented and that I think needs to be responded to. And this is I feel like we have a very high bar. We have a very high threshold for taking this kind of action. This has never happened in the time that I've been on council. I think, in conversations, we think that maybe there was a censure of a council member 20 years ago or more was the last time that this happened. We are not in the business of applying disciplinary measures to colleagues without reason, or even for reasons that don't rise to this level. This reflects on our entire council and on our city and on our commitments to our community, on the way that we use our power and authority in this organization, and our commitments to not use that power and authority for our own personal benefit. And that is the only reason that I think something needs to be done about this now. Council members behave in ways that I don't like all the time. That is not the issue. This is far more serious than a simple disagreement or a problem with each other's tone. And I take offense to the suggestion that this has anything to do with Councilmember Hyman's gender. We are evaluating each other's behavior as whole people, and I would never take part in any kind of gender-based accusation against anyone, especially not a colleague. That is an extremely insulting accusation. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'd like to say that it's really disheartening to me because when I put my name in a hat 10 months ago, I have a track record. First of all, I'm a social worker, and I have to guide all of my steps by the NASW Code of Ethics. And I would have a lot to lose to grow things in terms of ethics. I'm going to be 58 this year, and I've come through a lot of storms, but never has my character been questioned. And I'm very disappointed because all I wanted to do on this council was to serve and help the community. And I'm also disappointed because I think since I've been on this council, I really have felt that I've been bullied by some council members, but that's just what I feel. Because I stand up for different things than everybody else does. You know, that's my opinion. I am going to say that I do disagree with you, Councilwoman Johnson, because again, as I said, the staffer has more experience than I do in terms of political. The person has ran before and actually approached me. And I said to that person, you need to go and make sure that this is okay with HR. And as I said, with HR, he was given permission to be able to work on the campaign. I never knew that he sent this or they sent this during the time of work. And they took full responsibility. I never knew that. So to sit there and say that it's a pattern of behavior, I feel it's a slander of character on me. I admitted to the first one in terms of the fact that I was new in the council. I asked the question. I did not realize that that was campaign related. I wasn't even thinking, first of all, I had just got appointed, so I didn't even know what campaign related stuff was. This is all new entity for me. I've only been on this council for 10 months. And then when it was brought up and they said to me it was considered research and campaigning, no problem. Then it got through the whole office, which I don't understand how that happened. So to bring this up 7 months later is to me defacing and then lumping things together without even considering to come and talk to me. Since I've been on this council, I have been more than collegial to everyone on this council. And actually to the staffer too. So I'm just really disappointed because again, it is troubling my heart that I put my name in a hat to help people and I'm gonna be 58. And I have won major awards. I have never in my life been sanctioned anything about ethics in my entire life. And I'm disappointed as my colleagues would even do or say, or even just think that I would do something like that. When you had 15 to 20 people come and talk about my character when you appointed me. So to me, I think it's a slander on my character because I don't dance to the drummer's beat that people want me to dance to. I've come through a lot. I'm a strong woman. I'm a faithful woman, and I'm not going to be bored. And so I'm disappointed because I totally put my name in a hat to service the people of Durham. And I'm disappointed.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I just want the public to understand that there was actually a process in place. Folks had plenty of opportunity to reach out, to call each other, to talk to one another ahead of this. We had one-on-one meetings. We had partnered meetings. All of this is documented. Everyone knew what was happening ahead of this meeting. The resolution and the language was shared. Councilmember Halsey Hyman has been CC'd on every single email. She's known for several days. And we moved with speed because the Durham residents deserve this. It is not up to us as council members to not be transparent with the public. It is why we have open meeting rules. It's why we have quorum rules. It's why our city clerk's office has to put out there may be potential quorum at a community event. We operate under a different burden when we take these seats, appointed or elected. And I am a former appointee, so I know exactly the burden you live in because I did it myself. We have to behave at a different level in these seats. That is just the nature. It can be extremely challenging. It can be it's exhausting, but it is what it is. When we interact with staff, the wall between our elected roles and what that means around campaigning and how we govern, it has to be a wall. It cannot be flexible. Because corruption in city government affects everyone. It taints this office, it taints this dais, not just for us in these seats currently, but for the future. Residents have to know that what we do is in their best interest and as transparent as possible. It is a foundational part of democracy. So the ethics training that we take, the pledges that we get sworn in for a reason. We do it publicly for a reason. The matter that's in front of our council is extremely troubling. I'm happy to speak to colleagues afterwards, but this was a public process. Folks had opportunity to have conversations with one another, and if they did not avail of themselves of that opportunity for whatever reason, that is on them. Thank you.
Yes, I just want to clarify the statement that I did. First of all, I didn't honestly know what was going on. But then when it was said that this was buzzing, because no one actually came and talked to me, I did reach out yesterday. I was on a conference, and I was actually supposed to be away on Monday. I had an excuse, but I took a flight at 5 o'clock in the morning to be here Monday to go do my presentations and come back. In my way coming back, driving last night, I sent an email to everyone saying that this is all going out, and no one has even come as a colleague to come and ask me what happened, right? I was away. And then I get this last night at 10:30. So I disagree with the fact that you're saying that I had a draft. I got this at 10:30 last night. 10:30 last night. And everybody knew because you gave me a permission to be excused on Monday, but I stayed for the meeting and then took a flight at 5 o'clock in the morning and came back yesterday. I haven't slept in 48 hours, right? And I did reach out. And I didn't see Councilmember Williams. He did try to reach me today, but I was in the middle of trying to get back here. But I do disagree with the fact that no one asked me. There is documentation from HR that clearly says that the second incident, that the person took full responsibility. So then for somebody else to say that I coerced this person into working on, no, first of all, the person has more experience than I do and volunteered, and the person clearly stated that he took full responsibility for what he did during work hours. I had no knowledge of that at all. So it is not a pattern of behavior. What it is a slander on my character. And I'm gonna say it again. I have worked too hard in my life. I am totally disappointed because I put my name in this hat to service the people. If you wanted to try to break a spirit, you're almost there. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councilmember Hyman. Everything you said about your character and record is true. That's why we voted for you. That's why we voted for you. We acknowledged it. We affirmed it, which is why I said that censure is not about the totality of a person's character or the totality of a person's record. It's about, did you run that red light? Was your seatbelt on? What I understand the employee took responsibility for was what he was indeed busted for. He couldn't do anything but take responsibility for it. What it did not shed light on is the assertion whether or not who approached who. What he took responsibility for was something that we can document by our technology. The gig was up at that point. I do also want to say to Councilmember Freeman, I apologize for the inability to follow along with me. I know how you feel. I also want to take issue with the bizarre allusion to gender or the number of women on this dais, one of whom holds the gavel, one of whom wrote this resolution. So as one of the two men on this board, what? What does that even mean? How does that? That was rhetorical. How does that was rhetorical? How does that? How does that? How does that? How does that?
Being a bully. That's what it means.
Those names are well. You're close to the line. Again, a female colleague has submitted a resolution about acts that touch on ethics and legality, and we introduced. There's 5 women on the council. So that's a moment for me that's hard to follow along. I will also say to Councilmember Hyman, you know, I understand about having character attacked and having things questioned. You talk about your awards and accolades. All of us up here receive tens of thousands of votes from people. You know, there's no elected official probably in Durham that has done more glowing endorsements of more female office holders in this county than I have. And yet, you know, and yet the character question has been raised about support of women. Where'd that come from? I mean, so our records and our accomplishments and our achievements aren't really the issue here, because everything you said, we affirmed. We agreed with those things. So we're not going to agree with them, you know, when we appointed you, and then overnight we just, oh, forget about all of that, or we're no longer impressed with that. It is an enduring impression, which is why you're on the council. The question before us is, did these things happen? And if I ask a worker to do something campaign related for me, and it gets documented, I get caught, I would expect no different response. I guess what's troubling to me as well is that the initial incident was a teachable moment. And in the language that I see in the letter, there's actual an allusion to a decision point. Some people said, don't blur the line. Some people said, do it. So there was, at that point, a decision point, knowledge to be had as to whether or not it was appropriate to ask the employee. Went ahead and did it, and there was no sanction for it. The first incident, even when folks said don't do it, happened, and there was no sanction for it. So it wasn't even relevant. It was let go. It came up again because it came up again. So I don't know how to unsee that. I don't know how to unknow that. What I do know is that if we don't act as a council on this, y'all better not say nothing to any of us if it comes up for any one of us down the road. I don't want to hear nothing, because we're going to point to this moment and say, well, we didn't do anything then, so don't mess with me now. This has never, ever happened before, and if all of the debates, all of the controversies, all of the palace intrigue, all of the backroom machinations I've seen in City Hall, I have never seen a situation where staff was involved, it was let go, and then at what should have been a teachable moment, the threshold was crossed again. I have never seen that. I've never seen that. So I just want to respectfully say, I agree with everything you said, which is why I voted for you to be on the council. But I also want to reiterate, that's not what this is about. The question, and the only question before us is, was the red light run? Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor O'Neill.
Councilwoman Caballero, then back to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In the interest of time, and I don't think that this discussion is going to be fruitful, I am asking if we can close the debate. We know we have a resolution before us, and we will be voting on it at the subsequent meeting. And I think that Councilmember Johnson said that she would change one, that there was a edit that would maybe be done and that would be recirculated. Thank you.
I just want to say that, again, we can go back and forth. In the first incident, when I did ask people, it was actually after that I had asked, and it was told to me that it was research campaign related. I never asked again. I met with the staffer, with the city clerk, and she re-emphasized it to me. Never asked again. And then it went through the office. It went to other council members with a situation that was supposed to be dealing with me. In the other situation, again, I don't understand when you're saying a gig is up, because I am saying to you, and the staff person has a document that they took full responsibility, and you also had that in your package. So to me, you're like building stuff up on top of stuff to, again, attack my character. And again, I'm going to say, I didn't say about me having accolades and stuff like that, because that doesn't mean anything to me. What it means to me is I work hard for my character. And again, what's really important to me and what I'm sad about is that I put my name in the hat because I wanted to service people, not to be bullied, not to have my character thrown out. No, I didn't work for my life to do that. So for you to say that, the gig is up, and they had to say that, no, so you're alluding that I told this person to take responsibility. At no time did I ever do that. At no time. And yes, I was new on the council. It happened in September. When I asked other people, I had already did it. And I was like just kind of confused on, and then people said A, B, C, and D. I never did it again. And again, met with the staffer and the city clerk. And again, I don't understand why this is coming up 7 months later at 10:30 at night, especially after last week when an event happened. But okay, it's fine. I'm just totally disappointed. I'm totally disappointed. And like I said, if you wanted to try to break my spirit, you're on the verge of it. Thank you.
I did want to give everybody an opportunity to address in the matter that they deem sufficient. I have very little to say at this point about it. I'll close with the fact that of the elected officials that sit on this dais, I'm probably the one who's served as an elected official the longest and in different capacities. But never have I seen what happened over the last 2 or 3 weeks. 2 weeks happened before. But these are the people that you elected, Durham. And it's up to you to hold everybody accountable. And we should be ready for that, whatever that looks like. I can't say that I've had a good night's sleep in the last week. That coupled with the fact that we are still losing children on our streets every day, I don't know where Durham is poised and where it is going. But I do hope that Durham City is paying attention to all of us. And with that being said, it is now 2:32, and we stand in adjournment.
Madam Mayor, can I do something? I've just been sitting here for all of you all, if I may. Sitting here, I know it's unorthodox,